Nearly a week ago, Lucasfilm dropped their first Star Wars anime series, Star Wars Visions, on Disney+. The series featured 9 short films from 7 different Japanese animation studios, all of which had their own unique stories and characters. So today I wanted to rank all of the episodes from worst to best, so that you all got to know which episodes were my favorite. But before we get started, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We post videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here on Star Wars Lads, so you'll want to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date on all the latest Star Wars Lads content. Finally, comment below and let us know what you think of all the Star Wars Visions episodes and how you'd rank them. So one last disclaimer for people watching before we get started, there will be spoilers in this video for Star Wars Visions, so if you haven't seen all the episodes yet, save this video and come back to it after you've watched the show. You've been warned. Number 9, Tatooine Rhapsody. Tatooine Rhapsody just felt the most underwhelming of all the Vision shorts to me. Its story is extremely simple. A band has to play one final concert in order to save the life of one of their band members. The plot is all well and good, it just didn't do much to stick in my head. I did enjoy seeing characters like Boba Fett, Bib Fortuna, and Jabba the Hutt appear, but their appearances come across as purely ceremonial because they aren't used in a way that really helps us see them from a new perspective. The same can be said about the short as a whole. The story is told in an efficient way, and I enjoyed my time watching it unfold, but compared to a lot of the other Visions episodes, it just felt very surface level. It has fun existing in the Star Wars universe, but it never tries to expand on the material or look at it from new perspectives. Number 8, Lope and Ocho. While Tatooine Rhapsody comes across as the most underwhelming episode in Visions, Lope and Ocho is my pick for the most disappointing. The animation is wonderful, and many of the stylistic choices used to give this world life were quite impressive. Characters like Ocho make complete 180-degree character transitions off-screen during a 7-year later card, which transitions us into a story that obviously has 7 years worth of character arcs that the film attempts to summarize in a few lines of dialogue. Ocho's transition into the Empire feels unnatural considering her supposed best friend/adopted sister was once an Imperial slave that Ocho insisted on freeing despite her father's misgivings. There is subtext about a growing jealousy toward Lope's apparently strong relationship with their father over the 7 years, but we never really get to see that before Ocho makes her turn. And despite the film's rushed narrative, the story at its core is a familiar one, not taking advantage of the unique characters or industrialized setting that it creates. Then by the end of the film, nothing has really changed. Ocho is still willfully Imperial, and Lope is still wanting to fight for their family. This leads to the only reason I put Lope and Ocho higher than Tatooine Rhapsody on my list, and that's because of its potential. While it could be argued that Tatooine Rhapsody is a better film than Lope and Ocho, its characters and world were relatively bland in comparison, and its narrative has, for all intents and purposes, concluded. Lope and Ocho does have a chance to evolve into something more in the future, but if this episode is all we get, then it's easily the most disappointing of the series for me. Number 7, The Twins. The Twins is an episode I don't have too much to say about, and that's why it's number 7. It's Vision's bombastic action sequence episode, and it works well for what it does. The action sequences are bright, colorful, impressively ridiculous, and there's plenty of fun to be had. Our characters Am and Kare, while definitely familiar, serve the story that's being told here well enough. If there was something more unique to the story, it might go up higher on this list, but since it's really just about the bombastic action sequences and a dark side look at Luke and Leia, I can't say anything but the visuals really stuck with me by the time I finished the series. Number 6, TOB1, or Toby-1. Toby-1 has one of my favorite art designs from the entire series. Its use of striking whites and blues really made it one of the standout episodes visually in a series filled with gorgeous animation. The story is nice and has a lot more weight to it than I thought it would, yet it's still small enough to be a bit forgettable. Our titular lead, despite being a Star Wars version of Astro Boy, goes through a solid arc that feels earned by the end of the episode. One of the biggest surprises with me for Toby-1 is how well staged the action sequences were. Toby-1's unique abilities lent to visually striking, standout lightsaber duels that felt right at home within the world of this episode created. Overall, this was one of the more surprising episodes for me, and it's a testament to the rest of the top 5 that Toby-1 isn't higher on the list. Number 5, Akakiri. By far the weirdest episode, Akakiri goes for a near avant-garde approach to the classic Revenge of the Sith style story of a forbidden love haunted by premonitions of death and the dark side. Akakiri takes an interesting look at the burdens of being a Jedi in a world surrounded by darkness and really takes the Yoda quote,
"If once you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny, consume you it will,"
as its thesis. While the character animation might not be the most flattering, the penciling and color used for the world and environments heighten every pivotal scene, making Akakiri one of the most atmospheric films in the Visions collection. It's emotionally disturbing in a really sad way to end Visions if you watch the episodes chronologically, but those qualities are what makes it really stand out amongst the rest of the top 5 in the series. Number 4, The Duel. The Duel is simple in nature but wonderfully executed. The foundational black and white aesthetic with striking gray shading makes this episode a visual marvel. The filmmakers go to great lengths to make this film as stylistically in tune to the Yojimbo-type story it wants to tell. From its opening title card to the consistent flickers of film grain throughout the episode, I felt completely immersed in what was a Star Wars version of feudal Japan as told by Kurosawa in his films from the 50s and 60s. Its vision is uncompromised, yet it also feels distinctly Star Wars in its creative use of the franchise's imagery. Whether it's a Sith with an umbrella lightsaber, or a minigun-toting RA-7 protocol droid, or a Dug flying in a tricked-out probe droid, the Duel never shoehorns its Star Wars elements into the story in unnatural ways. Finally, we have to look at the episode's protagonist, the Ronin himself. While he's traditionally stoic and more than competent with a blade, small quiet moments start to paint a picture of who this man is and what he once was. His bow to the statue after defeating his enemy indicates a respect toward older customs of the Sith that possibly have been forgotten by this newer generation. And his collection of kyber crystals in his robes allude to many more battles yet unfinished in order for him to complete his quest. Overall, The Duel is a spectacular episode and easily one of the standouts from the series. Number 3, The Ninth Jedi. It will surprise and no doubt anger a lot of you that The Ninth Jedi is only at number 3 on this list, but honestly, these top 3 were so close for me that it was really hard to put them in order. To me, The Ninth Jedi feels like a phenomenal pilot for a much grander story that will hopefully be told in the future. It introduces us to fantastic new characters like Cara and Margrave Juro, and sets up an interesting storyline that looks to tell what might happen to the Jedi and Sith in the far future post The Rise of Skywalker. I love that the story told here actually attempts to expand the Star Wars mythology rather than just existing in it. Its production value also far outclasses the rest of its Visions contemporaries, and it has easily the best, most John Williams-y score out of every episode. So why is it only 3rd on my list? Because for me, although it tells an interesting and polished story, there's obviously still so much to be told here. When the credits roll, there are still so many more questions that the episode's ending poses that I want answers to. That's not necessarily a bad thing either. The Ninth Jedi got me more excited about the future of Visions and its possible connections to canon than any other episode in the series did. But my top 2 just gave me more complete experiences that I also really enjoyed. Number 2, The Village Bride. The Village Bride was easily the most surprising episode of the series for me. The initial plot synopsis released by Lucasfilm didn't sound all that interesting, nor did the clips in the first few trailers look all that impressive. Even though the animation isn't quite as flashy as the other episodes, nor does it have any huge potential plot threads, Village Bride tells a poignant and serene story that really understands the Star Wars mythology and uses that understanding to expand it in its own unique ways. At the heart of the story is the way the Force flows between all living things. It's a complex idea that's explained multiple times throughout the films with monologues by both Obi-Wan and Yoda, but more recently in a more visually detailed way by Rey in The Last Jedi. I love that The Village Bride understands these ideas. It doesn't treat the Force as some magic power to be weaponized in different ways by the light side and dark side. It uses the connection between Force sensitives and the rest of life around them to tell a redemption story about a Jedi who tried to cut herself off from the Force to distance herself from the tragedy of Order 66 and losing the people she cared about. When our lead Jedi, F, eventually transcends her fears and reunites with the light, it made for one of the most goosebump-inducing scenes for me in this entire series. And that's why The Village Bride ranks so high on my list. It gave me another unique perspective into the Force from a well-defined character who goes through a clear arc that had a satisfying conclusion. And number 1, The Elder. It's no secret on this channel that I'm a big fan of the Old Republic and early Republic timelines from Legends, and with the High Republic we finally started to get pieces of that gap between the 1,000 years before The Phantom Menace. But what I did not expect was that we'd get an episode of Star Wars Visions that seemingly takes place even closer to the beginning of that 1,000-year era than the High Republic does. The Elder tells a tonally engrossing story about 2 Jedi sent to the Outer Rim world to investigate a dark presence. The entire episode is filled with this sense of dread. The filmmakers do a great job with the slow burn to the reveal of the Elder himself. While most of the films and Visions besides Akakiri have themes of hope and self-discovery, this film oozes with unease. The shadow of fear cast by the Sith engulfs the story, and the film ends with the uneasy tension that hangs over the events of all 3 prequels. I also love that we get direct references to the Brotherhood of Darkness and the Darth Banian philosophies that the Elder seems to have adopted over the years. On top of that, the duels themselves are awesome. The first duel between the Padawan and the Elder, in which the Elder is seemingly toying with the Padawan before ultimately defeating him, felt so in line with Sith hubris. Then the final duel between the Master and the Elder was an impressively tactile clash that led to an impressive conclusion. Similar to the Ninth Jedi, for me, the Elder felt like it could be a part of canon, yet where the Ninth Jedi sets the foundations for a much greater story that has yet to be told, the Elder feels familiar because of its direct ties to canon, yet tells a story that we've actually never seen in the Disney-era Star Wars before, while also alluding to possible things to come from the early part of that 1,000 years before The Phantom Menace. When all is said and done, I am a canon junkie first and foremost, and even though Visions isn't labeled canon nor Legends, The Elder gave me my first on-screen look at a time period in Star Wars I've wanted to see played out for years, and that's why it stuck with me the most out of all the episodes in the series once I finished it. Well, that's my list. As I said at the beginning, comment below and let us know how you'd rank the episodes of Star Wars Visions. Also, again, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out as we try to grow. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all in the next episode.